Solutions. This is Matt Dietz, and this is None of My Business. Hey, you can find me at www.dietzagency.com. You can find me on Twitter at DietZAgency. You can even send me an email at mdietz@farmersagent.com. Today's guest, I sat down with Troy McClain, who is a native of Idaho and a very successful entrepreneur and businessman. And we had a great conversation that I'm excited to share with you today. Troy is a motivational speaker, and he also has owned multiple companies that have been very successful, and he has a lot of really good things going on right now. You know, the conversation we have, we touch on some timeless business practices like patience, belief, taking action, and giving. All of these timeless things that are not necessarily installed in all entrepreneurs when they start, but I believe in all of the successful ones when they come out of the other end. They have all learned these things: patience, belief, action, and giving. That's kind of the core of our conversation. Then we talk about his business, what he's doing right now to help people learn those things. So Troy, thank you so much for sitting down with me and sharing your story with us and helping us learn some things that have helped you become successful. Before we get to the interview, I want to give something to you. I subscribe to a service called audible.com. I love it. It is a subscription audiobook service, and I have listened to dozens and dozens of books, everything from business books to comedy books. I love comedy. So I listened to Dennis Leary's book, Tina Fey's book, Jay Moore's book. The best thing about those books is the authors read them themselves. So you're getting like 4 or 5 hours of almost straight stand-up. It's tremendous. Anyway, if you go to audibletrial.com/noneofmybusiness, you'll get a free month. You'll get a free book. So go check it out. I appreciate you listening. Also, if you go to iTunes and give me a rating, I'd appreciate that too. Hey, enjoy the show. I am here today with Troy McClain. Hi, Troy.
How are we doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate you giving me some time today. This is going to be fun. So, Troy, you were on the first season of The Apprentice, correct? Now, I remember when The Apprentice came out. I do. I was living in Idaho. I moved here in 2001, and the show was on. What year did that show hit?
The show hit in 2004. We actually aired it, or actually shot the entire episodes from September of 2003 to December of 2003, but it didn't air until January 8th of 2004.
Oh, wow. So my wife, Heather, and I committed to watching the show even before we knew you were on it, and it just looked like kind of a fresh, fun, different type of show. And so we're like, we're going to watch this show. And then we found you were on it, and we're like, oh my God, he's from Idaho. How awesome is that? And you performed really well. You ended up being, forgive me, it's been a while. Were you top 3?
You know, it's funny you ask that. I technically was top 5, but they advertised me as top 3. There were 3 people fired in the same day. Out of the concessions of firing, I was top 5. But I will take what the media says and what you say, which is top 3.
We'll run with that then. Okay. Well, we were really proud of you and excited for you, and we knew good things were going to come. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is, you know, what happened after The Apprentice? You've done some amazing things here in town, and I want to hear a little bit about your story. So you moved back to Idaho after that happened. Tell me what you've done since.
You bet. Well, again, first I want to make sure that I compliment you. One of the things that I truly believe, that we need to support and nurture innovation. And I shared with this with you earlier that so many young entrepreneurs and so many businessmen and women are so quick to change their circumstances, to want to change their circumstances, but they're not quick to want to change their minds towards marketing and towards giving back. I believe in a couple things. The best way to get ahead is to give back. Okay. I also believe that we have to nurture innovation, and that's what you're doing. You're nurturing innovation by giving back. You're giving me a platform to share my story. So I I compliment you and I compliment this program.
Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
Yeah.
Next, what have I done since The Apprentice? Well, before The Apprentice, everybody needs to know that I was an up-and-coming young entrepreneur that was many times in between my success cycles. And I think if you change your mind and change your brain, you realize that we don't win or lose as entrepreneurs. When we're down, we're just in between success cycles because we're going to find what we're hitting on. And over the years, I had tried many things. I'm a sales and marketer by trade, and then I'm really just an internal optimist.
So what were you doing right before you got on the show? Like, how are you making a living?
You bet. Right before I got on the show, I was involved in real estate, and I was involved in the mortgage lending side of it. When I got involved in the mortgage lending side of it, I quickly realized that I can broker money or I could become a bank and start wholesaling money for other banks. And so I partnered up with a company called Pinnacle Financial.
Sure.
Pinnacle Financial is a big multinational conglomerate, and I started warehousing and wholesaling their money on the retail side.
Okay.
And so I learned a lot from sales cycles to how to bundle and how to block loans, but most importantly, I learned about people. And what I did is I sold that off, which allowed me an opportunity to chase another sales cycle.
So when did you sell?
I sold in 2006.
So that was probably a good time to sell.
That was
right?
a good time to sell.
Yeah.
It wasn't by design. It was certainly just happened. Prior to that, though, I did go on The Apprentice, and The Apprentice certainly did. Donald Trump is an amazing man to learn from. He's an amazing individual to garner information from. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, 100% of the time, whatever he says, you believe what he says.
Okay.
Whether you believe in his position, you believe that he believes it. And that is what we have to do as entrepreneurs. We have to have 100% belief. With 100% belief, the facts don't matter. And I believed I am going to be successful. I believed that my product or my service was going to be the greatest.
So where did you get that belief? How did you get that belief? Not everybody has that, you know. Were you born with it? You know, was there a moment in time where you're like, something happened that, made you feel like you could do anything? Maybe, an early success? You know, what gave, that's a strong belief to have. How did you get it?
It is. And here's what I tell everybody, that I don't think entrepreneurs are born. I think they're grown. Mm-hmm. And we can grow to be entrepreneurs. Where do I get that belief? Well, I probably get it from old principles. I was a huge cowboy fan, not as far as football, but just as far as the movies. Mm-hmm. The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger had a creed. And he had a creed that if you want a friend, you got to be a friend. He had a creed that said, God put firewood on the ground, but he also gave us hands. It's our job to pick it up. And I just always believed that there was enough firewood on the ground that I can light a fire and build a team, that I can light a fire and I can build my success. But I had to be willing to do the work to pick it up. And so all these old strategies, you do the right thing all the time, but if you don't, then you make things right. Mm-hmm. And these are old principles from the turn of the century. These are old principles from whether it was cowboy movies or my mom. My mom instilled a lot of this in me. Okay. And so as I grew up in business, I started taking these practices and these principles into my business practice. And I started looking at things like, if I really want to get ahead, I have to give back. And again, it's not my money I have to give. Sometimes it's my ears to listen. Sometimes it's my advice. Sometimes it's my counsel. But as I listened and as I gave advice, things started coming back to me. And I started building a company. I built up a mortgage lending company that did, in my definition, did very successful. Along the way, I got picked to be on The Apprentice. Mm-hmm. I got picked to be on The Apprentice because I had 100% belief that I was going to be on it before the show ever launched. I wrote in my senior yearbook quote in 1989. 1989, I wrote, "Donald Trump, I'm coming." And I mailed my senior yearbook quote to Donald Trump. That was before The Apprentice even happened. Where does that belief come from? I believe you have to declare to the world what you're going to do. You have to make a statement. And that actually comes from my mom. My mom would say, "Son, you got to put pen to paper. And you got to tell the world what's going to happen before it's going to happen." And so I did. In 1989, I put pen to paper. I wrote Donald Trump, I'm coming. I didn't know how. I just knew why.
Isn't that weird how, in every leadership or business book that you've probably ever read and that I've read, it says you have to write your goals down. You got to write them down because they'll come true. Isn't that weird that this simple act of just writing it down instead of just having it in your head can really formalize it and make things happen? I've always found that to be very simplistic but very powerful. And I don't know why that is. There must be a psychology to making it actually show up in the world somewhere. But it's amazing that whenever you write something down, your goals, and I've looked back on goals that I've had at the end of the year. I'm like, oh my gosh, look, I have done all. It's really kind of bizarre, right? But it's so simple.
It's simple, but not everybody does it.
No.
I promise you this right now, that people that are listening to this podcast, only about 1% of them will do it. Because we all know how to eat right. We all know how to treat each other right. But do we do it? It's not the act of having the knowledge. It's the act of applying the knowledge.
Sure.
And whether you call it hocus pocus, whether there's science behind it, there is an energy. There is a vibration. There is something about declaring your goals. Now let's just look at the science in it. If you and I go jump in your car right now and I gave you an address and I said, hey, here's where we're going. You said, I don't know where we're going. Let me listen to my GPS. We would listen to your GPS, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't program it in your GPS, how can you listen to your GPS? You've got to program it. You've got to tell the GPS where you want to go. We've got to tell ourselves, as successful men and women, we have got to tell ourselves where we want to go. We can't just say, I'm going, without declaring it.
Right. No, I love that. It's so powerful, especially for new business owners or for someone looking to make the leap or the next step in their business. Because you can be stagnant in your business for a long time and just stay there. If you want to move it and continue to progress, writing those goals down can actually be the best thing you could do. So that's awesome.
And that leads to, I'll just tell you that. So in '89, I declared it.
Yeah. Where is that?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Oh, I have it. Yeah. Matter of fact, you can see it on Dateline. Dateline aired a little segment on me and shows the senior yearbook quote, shows it saying, yeah, Troy, he said it here.
Do you have it in your office somewhere?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do.
Cool.
So I declared it, and it happened in 2003. And that's the belief you have to have. First of all, you have to have 100% belief. Secondly, you got to manage your expectations. You got to manage your expectations. You can't expect that everything's going to happen instantaneously. You got to be willing to work for it. This is simple concepts, but they're not easy, because life between 1989 and 2003 was rough.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. And patience is something that I think is probably what is lacking in most business owners who fail. I know my business as being in insurance, 1 out of 3 new insurance agents make it out of their first year. Okay. Why is that? Well, because there's no instant gratification in selling insurance. You have to build a book of business. I might make $50 for every policy I sell. You got to sell a lot of business, and then the residual income comes years down the road. So I don't think patience is taught enough. For business owners. You can't just say, like, I'm open for business, let's do this, and then all the money comes in. A lot of times you have to borrow, or you have to go backwards before you start reaping some benefits of it.
Let's take business out of the equation and let's look at some of the most successful things that require patience. Anybody, whether you love it or not, most people love golf, right?
I do.
Especially in this area.
Yes.
Don't you got to have patience?
Yes.
A lot of patience.
Yeah.
You become a practitioner towards patience, and you don't become a master of the game when? Ever. Not even Tiger Woods is a master of the game.
Nope.
But we all are willing to invest because we have 100% belief that it's a blast, that it's fun. Fly fishing is my thing that I love. Well, I didn't just go out. It's a patient game. I'll say that again. But what do? I'm willing to go out over and over again they call it fishing for a reason, not catching. So we're fishing, we're not catching.
Right.
Some days I don't catch, but I keep going out.
Yep.
And I don't even look at anything. I don't even look at like, oh my gosh, this sucks. I'm throwing my rod and reel away. No. And in business, we need to look at that. You got to do what you love. Because if you do what you love, you'll have the patience for the return on your love, not on your money.
Okay. Well, let's talk about an important concept that I know is important to you, which is giving back. Okay. It's a hard skill to learn, especially when you're starting. And I know that you're a big giver, and it's what you've built your career on. So I wanted to ask you a question that I think is important. When I first started and I needed to start selling insurance to anybody I could get my hands on, I had to ask people for their business. I had to show up in a room full of people and say, Troy, who's your insurance agent? You got someone? Okay, who's your insurance? And I had to find 3 or 4 people to quote. Now, that is directly opposed to the mentality of giving you something, right? So I had to learn how to give. So in a few years down the road, it only took one time, but my pitch changed from, hey, who's your insurance agent, to how can I help you? And everything changed moving forward.
So is it directly opposed to giving? See, this is where I tell people to look beyond the obvious. The obvious is directly opposed. However, as a brand new insurance agent, how many people have tried to give something and get the business? Such as, what I'd like to give you is I'd like to give you a free consultation as a review of your current insurance plan compared to others. I just want to give that to you.
Okay.
Hey, now, that's not asking for the business, is it?
No.
No, but you're giving them a service, which in turn, if you end up being the lowest, if you end up being the best qualified, or if you even catch something on their current insurance policy, what are they going to say? Oh my gosh, my other guy didn't catch that.
That's
you
true.
go, hey, I just want to point that out. So it's not diametrically opposed. You start by giving, but you retrain your brain to figure out how to give, but then also get. You asked me what I did since The Apprentice.
Yeah.
The Apprentice aired in 2004, and by 2005 it was over. I had a wonderful season. It was amazing. I made it into the finals. I got introduced to the world, but I didn't get away from my beliefs. I didn't get away from my principles. However, afterwards, I was introduced to an amazing group of people. I was introduced to mentors. I was introduced to business opportunities. And I truly asked myself, should I be sitting at these seats that I'm invited to? And I instantly went, yes, I should. Because this is what I've been practicing for my whole life. And what did I do? I started giving. The first thing I did is I went ahead and I sold my company, because I gave away free speeches to a company called Pinnacle Financial. Pinnacle Financial says, man, we love your speeches so much. We love the culture that you built. What do you have? Well, I have a mortgage company. Oh my gosh, we're in the middle of acquisition. Would you be interested? I was like, well, gosh, yes, sure would. Next thing I did, boom, somebody had come to me and said, Troy, our military servicemen and women need help. They're the most deployed troops out there. And I said, well, what can we do for them? I said, well, I don't know. I said, what if we do a concert series? And I gave Operation Appreciation for our U.S. military here in Gowan Field. From that, our governor, Butch Otter, called and said, how would you like to run our campaign? How would you like to run my campaign? I saw what you did for Operation Appreciation. How would you like to run our campaign? Am I a political operative? No. Do I know about media? Yes. Do I know about giving back? Yes. Did that giving get me an opportunity to land the governor's contract? Yes. Did the governor's contract pay money? Yes. But I led with the giving. Next, my kid sister is of special needs. My kid sister's of special needs. I'm always given to the Special Olympics. I'm giving my time, my service, my heart, and my spirit to the Special Olympics because of my kid sis.
Sure.
From that, the Special Olympic World Winter Games said, oh my gosh, you would be a great liaison in Idaho. And by the way, this is where the World Winter Games are going to be hosted. We landed a contract as co-executive producers for the Special Olympic World Winter Games. These are amazing things that I led with giving. The byproduct of giving, my income went up. The byproduct of giving, my company brand reputation went up. And so as new entrepreneurs, we always think, yeah, but I can't give first. You can. You're thinking giving from the pocketbook when you really just need to give your service. We need to have a mind of not a salesman, but the mind of the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama always gave himself. He always gave advice, counsel. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Let's use them accordingly. Okay. Let's listen more than we talk.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think you kind of tackled one of my next question that I was going to give you, which was, how do you teach a new business person to give when all they want to do is get, at the time? So I think, I think you took care of that one. Let me take that one off the list. Thank you.
And you're a lefty like me.
I am. Yes. So let's talk. So you sold your business in 2006. Mm-hmm. What did you do after that?
Yeah. After that, from the 2006, then I went into the governor's campaign. Okay. I got very involved in philanthropy, but philanthropy kept pulling me back into business, which was wonderful. We were the co-executive producer of the Special Olympic World Winter Games. Okay. And then I just started seeing that success leaves tracks. And I started watching these successful people, and I thought to myself, I have the opportunity to be in front of some of the world's greatest leaders. I have met with, negotiated for or against. I have been kicked out by, asked not to come back from the likes of Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Cuban. These are people that I started studying and following and started trying to get in front of because I thought, why not me? Yeah. Let me ask. But then when I realized, you know what? We have a Mark Cuban right here in Idaho. His name's Ryan DeLuca. Ryan DeLuca at bodybuilding.com. You guys want to get innovation? You follow that guy. Yeah. You guys want to find something that has to do with entrepreneurship? You follow that guy. Sure. We have a gentleman named Matt Rissell here. Mm-hmm. We don't need to always listen to the ones that are on the news. We have innovation right here in Idaho. So what I did is I got into the mindset of retraining my brain, and I started following the tracks of success. So much so that I started documenting them. Okay. And I started saying, wait a second, let me interview that person. Wait a second, let me talk to that person. Ironically, because I started doing this, I got hired by a court-appointed receiver team to help scrub companies.
Did that seem odd to you? Like, how did that happen? It was just like, you answered the phone one day and they said, hey, can you look into this for us? How did that, connect those dots for me?
My life always feels odd to me, okay. But it's the odd life of Troy McClain, and I tell people that we're on the McClain train and we're riding it to success. What happened is after I got involved in some of the government stuff, after I got involved in some of the platforms of media and television and entertainment, I got approached by a gentleman to do crisis communications, a gentleman named Kevin Trudeau. Okay. Kevin Trudeau is a famed pitchman. He is most well known for his book, The Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. And Kevin had started documenting the same thing I was documenting, just on a much larger platform. I wrote crisis communications plans for him, and Kevin just simply didn't listen to the crisis communications plan. Okay. And so Kevin wasn't paying taxes. Kevin wasn't doing certain other things. And the government foreclosed and seized his assets. That government read my reports, and that government said, hey, would you come to work for the court-appointed receiver team? I said, sure, I would. And I started looking at what they were doing, and they were liquidating his assets to offset fines. Uh-huh. And I went, wait a second. Here's an amazing platform with a ton of information, with interview after interview after interview. That's an online success club in the areas of health, wealth, and happiness.
So it's a training program.
Yes.
That you can subscribe to. And what can you learn from there? Give me just a quick snapshot on what is available.
You bet. We are an online training program in the areas of health, wealth, and happiness. And what you can learn from there is you can learn how to file an LLC to how to do a joint venture. You can learn sales and marketing tips on how to build your business, or interpersonal self-help. Right. The Gallatin polls right now say that 77% of America is unhappy. We are unhappy as Americans. It also shows that if we were to offer those people $1 million, and if we were to ask them the same question, would this $1 million change your happiness? They say no. It's not the money. Yeah. I've heard, when I listened to Warren Buffett flew me to Omaha, Nebraska, and I got to listen to a speech that he performed. And he says, money has got to be the byproduct of your success.
How hard is that to learn?
It's impossible because society...
It's easy coming from Warren Buffett, you know?
Of course.
but that's... I think that's the hurdle that once the masses can get over that, everything will start trending, and that 77% will drop drastically, and the country will heal, right?
The country, I really believe this. I believe that the country is misled that money is everything. Don't get me wrong, we need money. It's a vehicle to move us from one place to another. But you cannot have, you have to have transformation before you can have manifestation. And manifestation is the manifestation of health, wealth, and happiness. But somebody's got to show you how to transform or retrain your brain. And if we start aiming for things, you got to want it. You just can't want it that much. That's that sweet spot.
Yeah.
If you want it too much, what happens? It never happens. I don't know about you, but in high school, I wanted the girlfriend of my dreams, and I wanted it so much it was written on my forehead. And guess what? I didn't get her.
No.
But when I didn't want it that much, and I thought it'd be cool if I did, and it'd be cool if I didn't, I got the woman of my dreams. And today we're happily married for 16 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the program because it's intriguing to me. It sounds like something that a lot of people can benefit from. So is it a self-directed course? Are there videos that you watch? Are there tests? Does it take 3 months, 9 months? I mean, tell me kind of if I wanted to start the program, how do I start it, and what should I expect?
Yeah, great question, and thank you for asking. So right now, adult learning is a major global initiative because there is nothing after college, there's nothing after high school right now. And we are being disappointed in our universities. We who have paid for educations, you, anybody else who have paid for education are going, I don't feel like that's helping me in the real world. So what we have is a self-guided online tutorials on health, wealth, and happiness. And you can go sign up for it. And there is a curriculum that is self-guided. It's your journey. It's your core to get through.
Great.
And we have 6 levels of education. Those 6 levels of education first attack the fundamentals of retraining your brain to look at life from a different paradigm, to look at life from a different perspective. And as you go through those levels, we grant higher access to more information. We grant access to more information because once your brain is trained right, once your brain is expunged from all the things that tell you you can't, you shouldn't, you won't, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too short, you're too black, you're too white, you're too old. Once we tell you that you're not too anything, you're just perfect, then we find opportunities for you to promote your business. We really believe that members support members. We believe that members support members. But in order to have that support, you have to have the right brain and have to have the right mindset. And so we help with that transformation. That's how I got to where I'm at today. That's how it's reading books. Mm-hmm. It's listening to CDs. Mm-hmm. It's going back to the concept to go from good to great. Jim Collins wrote a great book called Good to Great. Yeah. Every one of you that are listening right now, you guys are good enough. But in today's market, good enough is not good enough. And we got to go from good to great. Yeah. And this training, this material, is that I'm a practitioner to greatness. I'm not great myself. I study the courses that we have. I listen to the courses that we have. I'm a fallible man in business and in life. I make mistakes. But as I listen to these programs, as I listen to the people who have been where I was and are where I want to be, because isn't that who you listen to the most? Yeah. You should listen to those who have been where you are and are where you want to be. Well, I've captured these videos, I've captured these training, I've captured all this stuff, and I listen to that because I want to be where they're at.
Where are you in the program?
In the program, I am right where I need to be at the unit of time that I need to be.
Perfect.
And today, I'm proud to say that we're job creators. We have over 18 employees.
Great.
We're a physical brick and mortar location that rents and pays back to this economy. We're philanthropists. We donate and we give back constantly and all the time. And we've built an amazing culture of young men and women who want to have, be, and do more in their lives. And I'm proud to say that because of that training, I'm right where I need to be in this unit of time.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about when you met Brett. I want to hear about how this all kind of came together from your perspective. So I know Brett told a story earlier where he'd emailed you 11 years ago, and then over the course of time, you guys wound up meeting and sitting together, and he had his business and you have your business. And now, did you buy Access?
Yes, of course. I founded Access. We didn't buy it.
It was, you rebranded it, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah. So let me just get. So Access was formed in April 2014.
Okay.
What I did is I went to work for a quarter-pointed receiver team, and my job was to scrub and identify assets of value and sell those assets. The assets that I found that were of value were all these archived videos, were all these archived articles from some of the greatest leaders in the world. James Allen from 1902, As a Man Thinketh. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich and the Masteries of Success. And I had a bunch of assets that I decided I think those are worth bringing back to Idaho. And so we purchased the assets of this, and we formed a company called Access because we want to grant access to all those that want this exclusive information, but we want to make it inclusive. Okay. We want to make it inclusive. So when we bought those assets, we formed the company All Access. And this common mind versus great man theory, to answer your question, if you think of, there's two theories out there, prevailing theories. There's the great man theory. And the great man theory says, if we owned a time machine and we went back in time and we were to eliminate Hitler off the books, then the atrocities would not have happened, right? That's what the great man theory says.
Yeah.
If we were to eliminate Steve Jobs, then Apple would have never happened. I don't subscribe to that theory. I subscribe to the common mind theory, meaning that even if I went back in time and removed Hitler, there would be another name, and it would be another class that would have been attacked. And that's what was great about Brett. When I had purchased all these assets and I formed this online success club because we believe that success leaves tracks. And I had purchased this and I wanted to bring it back to Idaho because Idaho supported me and I want to support and endorse them. I remember Brett calling me almost 10 years ago. Talk about giving back.
Right.
Brett had called me almost 10 years ago. Actually, it sent me an email. And I had called him. He sent me an email saying, hey, you're probably busy, but I want to share with you an idea. I want to share with you a concept. He didn't even know it was called Liz at the time. Right. He was just sharing with me about this collaborative community. And I thought, if a man's got enough respect to send me an email, I got enough respect to call him. And I called him in the hype of The Apprentice.
That's what he said.
I listened, and I heard him, and I went, man, he's on to something. It only took us, 11 years?
That's all.
Just 11 years.
11.
That's where patience comes into play.
That's right. Let's go back to patience.
That's where patience comes into play. And here I buy all these assets. Here I plan on bringing them back to Idaho. And then I remember, there was a guy that shared this with me. There was a guy that talked about this. And so I said, somebody go find that guy. And then I heard about Local Impact Zone, started by Brett Labott. And I thought, oh my gosh,
there it is.
There's the common mind.
Yeah.
The common mind has been brewing this concept. We are starving. The American entrepreneur is being neutered because they don't have these innovation ideas. They don't have these nurturing, like-minded communities to support and endorse their concepts. And I decided, enough with the neutering of the American entrepreneur. Let's nurture it. Let's grow it. And Brett had a platform. I had an asset. And together, it seems like it's working.
I love it. So how are you getting this platform out to people? Now, I'm hyper local, so like Boise is it's my town, and so I had a couple questions for you there. You know, how are you going to bring it locally? Because I know you're in 88 countries, I think you said. So you're already out there. You know how, and Brett has been hyper focused on the local market too. So how are you going to bring it here? And then what are your plans? To grow the business moving forward.
You bet. How we're going to bring it here? Through your platform.
Great.
Through people like yourself who are giving us the opportunity to share in a belief and giving us the opportunity to talk about what we really believe in. We believe in a collaborative community of like-minded people that practice, teach, preach, and apply the principles of success so that we can have a synergistic house of community people that will start sharing the power of abundance, that will start sharing how do you get through the dip.
Yes.
How do you as an insurance agent get through the dip? And you'll be able to share those ideas through podcasting, through video tutorials. Well, how do you plan on taxation when you're in a 43% tax bracket versus a 23% tax bracket? Well, we have people that can talk about it because they've been there, done that. Well, what about how do I just get an idea out? Well, let's create that collaborative community. And so we started organically. We started through you. We started through me. We started through just simply telling the people what we believe in. With 100% belief, you have a defined purpose, and you have 100% belief. Well, then what you do is you build a fraternal organization of like-minded men and women who want to have, be, and do the things that we want to have, be, and do, which is give back to this community, but increase our wealth from the inside out, not from the pocketbook in. And the byproduct of that wealth is our pocketbooks go up because we just keep giving it back. When we have that, then we all create an annuity of cash flow and common good.
I love it. Let's do that.
I'm in.
That's great. I mean, everything you're saying is great, and I saw you speak a couple weeks ago, Thursday evening.
Yeah.
I saw you speak there, and I just foresee, you can. I think I asked Brett this question too. How do you change people's belief system, or that giving first is more important? And he says, through repetition, again and again and again. So I think with your patience and perseverance and a platform, I think you'll be able to do all of that without a problem. So I'm excited to see everything take off. What are your plans over the next year for your company? Where do you see it in 1 year? Where do you see it in 5 years?
These are great. Where I see it is just being bigger, being stronger, being faster, and moving forward. In order to have change, in order to affect change, you got to make massive and immediate decisions. Bill Gates was interviewed by Larry King, and Larry King asked him, how did you get to where you're at? And in part, he said, hey, right time, right place. But the number one thing that he focused on was, I took massive and immediate action. I took massive and immediate action. I saw the opportunity. I didn't ask myself how. I asked myself why. And my gut said go. And he went. And that's Bill Gates. Now you look at Steve Jobs, you look at Bill Gates, you look at Carlos Sims, you look at Mark Cuban, you look at Donald Trump. What's all different industries, all within the same cash flow and the same net worth. Mm-hmm. What's the two things they have in common? The two things they have in common?
Belief,
100% belief in themselves and their team. And then the other thing they have in common is they all took massive and immediate action to affect change in something that was bigger than themselves. And that's what we need to do as a community. They have other things in common, but the two most in common are those. Of course, the commas in their tax return tend to be the same. One unique feature that I really think that most people overlook is they have a fraternal organization that is their trusted advisors that they lean on. And it's a tight group. Mm-hmm. And if we create that tight group in a global market, we'll change the world.
Great. Do you have anything else you want to add? I'm out of questions for you. You've done great.
Yes, I want you to quote my insurance.
Okay. Do you have any goals you want to write down right now?
Yes. I want to reduce my insurance. I want to increase my coverage. And I want to help you get successful.
Earn Troy's insurance. I'm going to write it down. There, it's a goal.
Wonderful.
There you go. Troy, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This has been fun. I'm looking forward to getting this out and having people learn from it. And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, there you have it. Thank you again, Troy McClain, for coming on and sharing some of your wisdom with us, and best of luck moving forward with Liz and Axis and everything you've got your hands in. My name's Matt Dietz. This is None of My Business. You can find me at www.deetsagency.com. You can find me on Twitter at DeetsAgency. You can even shoot me an email at mdeets@farmersagent.com. Hey, do me a favor, go to iTunes, give me a rating, write me a little review. It helps the show gain some traction. It helps other people find this resource that I'm trying to build and help out young entrepreneurs and people that just need a jump start. So I'd appreciate it. And I appreciate you for listening. Keep up the good work.